Yo, what's good, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to a brand new series that I am reviewing. This is Kingdom Business, and this is season 2, episode 1. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning family member, then you already know what it is and what it always will be. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell somebody to tell somebody if you choose to. If not, just sit back, relax, and let's get into this thing. Now, let me just say, the tone for Kingdom Business is probably going to be a little different than if you are familiar with my sister's reviews and any other reviews that I've done in the past. Because you're going to get a different side of me. You're going to get Alicia, but you're also going to get Alicia the believer and the things that I believe in when it comes to my spiritual walk. And so I just want to make that known up front. You get a different side of me. So let's just get down to business, baby. This opening scene is everything. Denita is standing in the cemetery as if she's at a repast. She watched the men carry the casket. She's emotional. She watches as the casket is lowered into the ground. Then she turns and gets the shock of her life. It is her name, Denita Jordan, that is on the headstone. Y'all, that about took me out. I said, wait a minute. Wait a dirt minute. Now, I know it was like a dream sequence or whatever, but the pause that they had to give someone where you thinking you at somebody else's funeral, you're at the cemetery, and you look at the headstone and it has your name. That is a very alarming situation. But anyway, next, we see Denita being transported from the back of an ambulance into the hospital. And CJ, her daughter, is frantic. She is almost like in a state of shock. And she's stating that she did this and she needs to be with her mom. Now, at this point, I was in a state of confusion because at the end of season 1, we were left off with Pastor Calvin attempting to unalive himself behind the pulpit as a way for him to atone his sins. And even though I will get into that a little later, but Pastor Calvin really understanding what his indiscretion has done to a family who lost their child, to his congregation and his own personal family as well. And my thinking is, baby, you cannot atone your sins by trying to take yourself out. You got to deal with it. And unfortunately, sometimes that burden can be too hard on people that they feel ending it is the easy way out or the best thing for them to do. And I pray that, I know some people may be listening who have lost people to that particular act. And I just always pray for people to have a sense of peace when you have lost someone like that, knowing it's not your fault. It wasn't anything that you could do. But when someone makes that type of decision and they mean it, there is nothing, that can be done. But, fortunately, Calvin did not end his own life. But unfortunately, Denita, who was standing next to him because CJ tried to stop her father from doing what he was trying to do, and the gun went off, hitting Denita in her abdomen. And as she fell to the floor, she hit her head on the arm of the chair. Now, at this point, they don't know much about Denita's status. Is very new, and CJ's husband, who works at the hospital, lets them know that she's in the best of hands. So all they can really do is pray. Now, let me just say, Kingdom Business, y'all started it out with a bang. You hear me? A bang. Because one thing we know that Miss Yolanda Adams is going to do, she's going to act, sing, and preach her entire face off. Now, even though we didn't hear her sing, Miss Yolanda Adams is playing the role of Denita to a T. I said, baby, Miss Yolanda Adams, you need to win some awards for this, ma'am, because you are excellent. You understand me? You're excellent. So Taj and Essence show up at the hospital, and Taj wanted to put his hands on his father, rightfully so, and he lets him know that if his mother doesn't make it, he can forget that he has a son. I said, well, my. And he meant every word he said. And so, Rebel and Taj, I'm here for this story, okay? I am all here for this love story. Now, let's remember that Rebel is hurt. Her feelings were hurt because at the end of last season, her and Taj were getting closer. You could tell that they were falling for each other, and she really liked him. But everything came to a halt once he told her that Essence was pregnant and that he was going to do the right thing and be with her. I said, Taj, why you doing this to my girl? You know you don't want to be with no doggone Essence, but I'm going to let it fly for right now and get back into the story. So Rebel, of course, her feeling, she was, I just felt so bad for her because it's like, oh my God, she was finally letting her defenses down. She was opening up, and then to be hit with this, I'm going to be with her. But she tried to play it off as if, it really didn't hurt her and everything was good. So she reaches out to Taj once Caesar has told her what happened. And so she sent him a text message, but Taj ends up calling her. And, she expresses her concern by letting him know that she was thinking about him and his family. And she asked him if there was anything that she could do for him. And he says to pray. And I was so surprised that Rebel actually got down on her knees to pray, which was huge because she don't like his mama. She don't like his mama. She does not like Denita, but she did what she had to do. And as I watched this scene, okay, because I know some people are going to have an issue with Rebel, and I'm going to deal with that later on. But as I watched this scene, and when Rebel actually got down on her knees to pray for a woman who she did not like, to me, that really shows the nature of her heart and her intent. There is a humbling that comes when you have to, or you have made the decision, or you are being obedient when God has told you to pray or intercede for someone that you really don't like, or someone that you may have a personal ought with, but you do it anyway. And then you do it with no malice in your heart, and you do it with no ill intent. Now, to get to that place, it takes some humbling. It takes you removing yourself and your flesh out of the situation, because you know that someone else's family is going through, and the pettiness of whatever you don't like this person, or whatever you may be feeling towards them at this point in time, it is not important. And what's most important is their healing and for their family to feel comfort. So that to me showed me a lot about Rebel and what she may be dealing with internally. So I'm going to just stick with Rebel for a minute. So Rebel is trying to get out of her contract with Caesar. And she's telling him that she is not a gospel artist, and she would never be good enough to fit in the genre or the community. And so he lets her know that he has too much money tied up in her to allow her to get out of her contract. And then in walks Tasha Cobbs. And I love the conversation that Tasha and Rebel have, because Rebel's concern is that she's not a good Christian. Like, she doesn't fit into the mold of what a believer is supposed to look like. And Tasha lets her know that she faced a lot of backlash and judgment herself when she did a song with Nicki Minaj. And Rebel didn't know of this song. She was like, really? Nicki? And Tasha was like, yeah. She said, in the church community, or the Christian community, had a lot to say about her decision, but she made peace within herself, knowing that she listened to the voice of God and not the voices of others. And I really like that scene, because sometimes, and you read all in the Bible how God uses inanimate objects. God will use animals. God will use whatever he decides to use to get the glory, to get the victory, whatever it may be. And so when Tasha was talking about how there were people who reached out to her that said they had never listened to a gospel song, or that they had never even was thinking about making a decision to give their life to Christ, or to become a believer, but by listening to her music and by listening to that song with Nicki Minaj, it put them in a place to have their hearts examined, and for them to start this journey of faith. And sometimes, unfortunately, we live in a society where the church has become such a judgmental place that people who may be considering or may be curious are afraid of asking, or afraid of seeking out, because they don't want to be scrutinized for not knowing. And that's a sad thing. It really is. But I really did enjoy the conversation that Tasha had with Rebel when it came to that aspect of her, just feeling like she's not good enough to fit in. Now, baby, let's talk about these grandparents who are played by some of our great black actors who has ever graced our television and movie screens. Louis Gossett Jr. and Loretta Devine, and they are playing Denita's parents. And they are also like the original bishop and the original first lady of the church. And they are something else. Something else. But when I tell you, they represent so many people that I have met within the church realm. Baby, this sense of power and authority and hierarchy and royalty that exists with a lot of the older believers who have these titles that really don't mean jack at the end of the day. Just to give y'all a little background on me, okay? If I don't know nothing else, I know church. I know the ins and outs of church. I know the business of church. I know the ups and downs, in and outs, left and rights, vertical, horizontal, all that of church. I know church. And sadly, there's a lot of churches functioning without the power and presence of God, but that is a whole nother conversation. But I will be, entering my own personal stories and things of that nature as I go through the series of Kingdom Business, because baby, y'all people be watching reality television. They ain't got nothing on the black church. You hear me? It got absolutely nothing on the black church. But unfortunately, a lot of people hide behind titles as a way for them to do some real jacked up stuff. Now, before the grandparents come and check on their daughter, there is a scene with Pastor Calvin and the chief of the police department. And this man is truly a sheep in wolf's clothing. He is just completely evil, in my personal opinion. And so Calvin is under the impression that this man got in touch with the bishop and they had Danny killed. And he's, trying to say that he's innocent. He had not talked to the bishop in years. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I said, you know what, Chief, I possibly could have believed you. But at the end of the conversation, he told Calvin that the next time, I'm paraphrasing it, that the next time he tries to unalive himself, do it right. Don't F up. I said, what did you just say? What? I said, baby, he evil. That's Satan right there. That's Satan with a uniform on. Because I said, why would you say that to that man? You know this man mind ain't right. He is mentally struggling. Why would you say that to him? That was just so ungodly. It was so ungodly. I said, well, dang, Chief, you had to tell that man that. Now back to this hospital. The grandparents come in and guess who we see? We see Sasha, trifling behind. Sasha is played by Tamar Braxton. And Tamar, baby, you are playing this role. Do you hear me? You're doing a marvelous job, sis. I think this role was created just for you. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. But you're doing a great job. And so as they come in, Sasha gets beside herself and she embraces Calvin to let him know that she's there for him. Now, mind you, Sasha is Calvin's side piece. This is the chick that he was knocking off in his office at the church or in the basement of the church. Whenever they could get it in, they was getting it in. So the fact that she is embracing him like this, and CJ knows that her father had an inappropriate relationship with Sasha. Sasha didn't care. Sasha is big, bad, and bold. Do you hear me? So Calvin, he sort of dismisses her. And Sasha is looking all distraught as if she figured she had a place that she really didn't have, or a position filled that really was never her position in the first place. And so she actually is trying to care for the bishop because he's in a wheelchair. And I'm just like, girl, you just trying to weasel your way in this family any way you can get in. Sasha is one of those women that exists in a lot of churches who is enamored with pastors because of the power that they feel they possess or the leadership qualities. And one thing too, when you're dealing with men or women in leadership positions, they possess a certain power. And I believe it's the anointing on them. People gravitate to that. People are drawn to that. And sometimes it is in a negative manner. You know what I'm saying? Or they don't care that the person is married. They don't care that this is a family man. They don't care that this woman is married. They don't care. They have their eyes set on the prize, which is conquering that person. And they do what they got to do in order to get close. And I always tell people, if you are in ministry and you are married, you better be asking God to reveal the hidden and secret things to you concerning the people in your ministry. Because everybody who is a member in your congregation, they ain't a member of your congregation. You feel me? They want something. Yeah. You better pray at all times. Pray without ceasing, because baby, it's some spirits running rampant in the church. So the grandparents decide they want to have a family business meeting, and Essence is there with Taj. And baby, they nastily excuse her. I said, these grandparents ain't got no chill. These grandparents have no chill. And so they just begin to make demands of what they need to happen, what is going to happen. And I'm like, this finna be an absolute mess. So Taj ends up telling Essence that, that maybe she should go home and get some rest, because I think he knew that if she did not leave at this point, that his grandparents were going to utterly embarrass her. And I don't think he wanted that. And so she ends up leaving. And so next we see Rebel. Rebel is going back to the strip club to ask Desk for her job back. And basically she was like, I got the pull, I can get the people in here, and gospel music ain't paying no money, and my bills still needs to get paid, and I'm not making money over there. So a lot of people were upset with Rebel as they was watching this, but I wasn't, and I'm going to tell you why. I actually feel bad for her, because I see this young lady who is in a place in her life where she can feel God pricking at her heart. But unfortunately, she does not have a strong support system to continue to disciple her within her faith journey. And even though I believe that Caesar is a good guy, I really do, at the end of the day, he's still a businessman. So you have someone who is new to the faith, and there is already an agenda for her life, which is to make money off of her, essentially. But for her to become this gospel artist, to throw her into the sea of sharks, because that's what they are. A lot of these older saints, quote unquote, are sharks who are going to judge and rip and tear her, slap the hell up before she's even strong enough to really walk out this faith journey by herself. So I just felt bad for her. It's almost like the scripture in the Bible says, like a dog returning to his vomit. When you don't know, going back to something that is familiar to you is essentially ideal, because you're comfortable with it. You know the ins and outs. It's like anybody who, before you may have gotten saved, or before you decided to, give your life to Christ, you knew how to operate in the street. You knew how to operate in the world, but going into this other side, you have no idea. You're really like a child with no direction, and you need to be guided and helped. And when you just don't have that, you just don't have that. And Rebel doesn't have that, unfortunately. So now we see Sasha trifling behind. So she overhears CJ talking to this nurse, and she was asking, can people, or if they're in a coma, can they still hear? And the nurse was telling her yes. So Sasha goes over to Denita, who is still in this coma, who is lying in bed, and Sasha tells her, go ahead, walk into the light, let go. I'll take care of Calvin. I said, Denita, baby, I need you to wake up from this coma and punch her dead in her throat, jack up all her vocals so she can't even talk. What? Why would you say that? I said, Sasha. Oh my God. This episode was so good. This show is so good. I said, baby, she need to be punched in her throat for saying that to that woman who is in a coma. Why would you say that to her? Just evil. Oh my gosh. So we see Rebel. She's at the studio, and she notices that Taj is rehearsing a song. He's at the piano. And so she sits next to him and lets him know that she did pray for him and his family. And he tells her that, he prays for her every day. And she was like, see, I didn't ask you to do that. He said, and still I do. And so she tells him the same thing that she told Caesar about her not being this gospel artist. She does not have what it takes to fit into that position. And he tells her that he disagrees. And he said, I know that Caesar disagreed with that as well. So she attempts to change the subject by asking him about the song that he's rehearsing. Oh, is this a new song for you? And he said, yeah. So she decides to help him complete the song. Now, as they're having their moment, Essence, who is supposed to be home resting, appears at the studio. And she watches Taj and Rebel sing this song. This song is about love. The song is about love isn't fair all the time. And sometimes when love rears its head, you may not be ready for it. And I said, well, Taj, who did you write this song for, baby? Because it appears as if you wrote this for Rebel. And Essence sees what we all see, that Taj's heart is with Rebel. And I understand that Taj is trying to do the right thing by marrying, Essence, but your heart isn't there. And you're going to always treat that person as secondary because it's not where you want to be. Period. And this quote unquote doing the right thing, miss me with that. Christian or not, don't marry somebody because they done had a baby by you and you or having your child and you know that's not where you want to be. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to them. And that's not fair to the unborn child. So we see this young man. He comes and he is kneeling by Denita's bed. And I'm like, who is this? So he touches her stomach and then he touches her forehead. And I said, oh, so he has the power of healing. That's what I thought immediately when he touched her stomach and her forehead. And when Denita came to and she asked him, who are you? And he says,
I am your son.
I said, yo, who? Her son? I said, so this is the child that she had from Caesar? And that's how it went off. I said, oh, baby, this is messy. This is good, but messy. Oh, I love this show. I love this show for so many reasons. I love this show because the characters on this show, they are so real and they are so relatable, whether you're in the church realm or not. I love this show because there are so many nuggets about being a believer, church, all of that. And I'm not saying that you may find inspiration in this, but what I am saying that there are so many people who watch this show who may feel the same way as Rebel. That's why I think she's my favorite character, because to me, she represents humanity. She represents what happens sometimes when we, are on our faith walk, on our faith journey, and we get sidetracked, we backslide, we make mistakes, or we do deliberates, or we feel like this is too hard for me. I think those are legit concerns that one may have, or feel like, there is no way God can use me. And yes, God can. Yes, God will. And yes, God will use whomever needs to be used in order for the glory to prevail, in order for victory to be had. And so that's what I really like about it. And I just enjoy her because she's honest. And one of the things we find in church, there are so many people who are pretending. There are so many people who be like, yeah, I'm a believer, but I ain't gonna lie, I got to struggle with cursing. Or I'm a believer, but it is a struggle for me to let this person go. And I love Rebel because she is honest about herself. She's honest about where she is. And I just believe that if everyone could be honest about where they are, their shortcomings, that, God can really move because he don't have to work through the deception of it all. But that's just my take on it. I really love this show. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I will be back for episode 2 probably. It'll come soon. I don't know when, but like I said, I hope you guys enjoy it. So until next time, I will holler at y'all later, and y'all be safe out there.